Slaying that jank.
Hey guys, Trent here, coming at you with another Magic video. So today I just wanted to go over my top 8 list of cards coming out in War of the Spark that I'm most excited about trying out and seeing in action. I hope you enjoy. If you get a chance, please like, comment, and subscribe. But anyways, got a top 8 list for you, but I got an honorable mention here for you. Just because I think that this is a card that people are going to get tired of really quick, because I think it's going to be all over the place in Standard. I'm not sure exactly what build. Maybe zombies, maybe Rakdos, aggro, but Dreadhorde Butcher I think we're going to be seeing a lot of in the next upcoming Standard seasons. Its ability is pretty good for 2 mana. It is a zombie, of course, as well. A 1/1 haster that just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and also deals damage when it dies. I mean, this card is just nothing but value in an aggro deck. Yeah, I'm honorable mentioning it now, but I'm thinking that we're gonna get. I think a lot of people are gonna get tired of this card. We'll see. All right, so number 8 is Heartfire. This one I like abilities like this where, you know, you get to get that extra burn, but you know, you have to sacrifice a creature. Some decks that can be a benefit, so there's already a lot of cards for aristocrats and everything that might make aristocrats more of a viable deck. Either Mardu or, well, if we're using red, then of course, then probably Mardu, but Judith's in red-black, so there's that option as well. But for me, Heartfire, I'm most excited about it is for the Goblin Calamity deck, which you can go back and check my video. I made a 0 rare Goblin Calamity deck that actually can burn through your daily winnings on Arena if you're winning your gold. If you want to try that deck out and just be able to play fast and get your daily gold, you don't have to. The games are decided really quick, but that deck's a lot of fun. But I think this might be a new tool for it that'll be a lot of fun as well. Just having the ability to convert one of your 1/1 dorks into 4 damage is pretty powerful whenever you're trying to close out a game with a blistering fast aggro deck. And again, sacrifice abilities are good to prevent lifelink from your opponent. So I think this is just a really cool card that I'm glad to have this in the standard format to try it out in those fast aggro decks that don't mind sacrificing their creatures. So number 7 we got Layline Prowler. I like this color combination. I like the creature. I like the Vampire Nighthawk-esque stats of it. Death Touch, Lifelink, and a 2/3 for 3 mana. But this one can add mana of any color, so this one seems really cool. I already mentioned it in a spoiler video that it seems like maybe we could have some kind of Golgari ramp-esque kind of deck where we're making mana, and if we need to, we can use this as a removal spell or gain a little life. It just seems really good for an uncommon mana ramper. And there's another card coming up that seems to go hand in hand with this card that maybe I want to try in a deck together. So that card I'm talking about is Death Sprout. This is a cool removal spell in my opinion, and I really want to see, again, like some kind of mid-range or maybe a ramp deck that kind of uses the Layline Prowler and the Death Sprout together to continue to ramp and get into something big. I don't know what that is. I don't know if Carnage Tyrant's good enough for the big Vraska or whatever the case may be. But I really like Death Sprout. It reminds me of Mon Vele Asigmas, the card that destroys a land and ramps you a land. This does a creature, but that's more relevant in Standard, I would say. I think this is really cool card, and in instant speed too. You get your ramp and can kill their biggest creature. Next up we got Eternal Taskmaster. I don't know if this is the best zombie released, but basically I included this one because I think I want to see zombies as a deck again. But this one seems like a pretty good one in the 2-drop slot. So the Eternal Taskmaster does enter tapped like a lot of zombies, but it's a 2/3, that's pretty good stats for 2 mana. And it has that ability to recur creatures from the graveyard. And it's any creature card, by the way. It doesn't have to be a zombie. So like usually whenever more zombies get released, we'll try some zombie builds, and I don't know if this one will get in there, but it seems like it may be one of the ones that is going to be included alongside the the Graveyard Marshal, or I think that's what it's called, from M19. So yeah, just as zombies in general, but Eternal Taskmaster. Alright, number 4 on the list is Cruel Celebrant. It's a reprint, but it's a pretty good one. Again, just that Aristocrats deck. I think having access to more sacrifice abilities and Aristocrat style abilities like the Cruel Celebrant is going to make the deck an actual viable aggro deck, at least more than it is now. I think it's pretty close to being there. So Mardu Aristocrats seems like it's definitely going to be tried out pretty heavily in the next upcoming standard season, and Cruel Celebrant seems like it could be a pretty good addition to that deck. And just the more and more effects of these, eventually the right deck's going to get tuned up to where Mardu Aristocrats is a force to be reckoned with. So we'll see. But yeah, it's cool to have Cruel Celebrant as an option to try out again in the standard metagame. And speaking of Aristocrats, we've got Devouring Hellion, which seems like it could be a 1-2 punch haymaker with the Cruel Celebrant or Judith, where when a creature dies, it deals 1 damage to your any target or your opponent or whatever, because you can just sack your whole board. So I can imagine a scenario where you attack in with all your guys and then sack your board to finish off your opponent to the Devouring sacking your board to the Devouring Hellion to finish him off. It seems like another card. Seems like there's a lot of these cards. It's going to be hard to determine which one is the best ones to slot in, but this one seems like a really spicy card. Can do a lot of damage in an Aristocrats deck, and not to mention you get left over with a huge Devouring Hellion body after that is all over with. Alright, number 2, the runner-up for the card I'm most excited about is Massacre Girl. I like mono black, and to me this seems like a really awesome mono black card, kind of like a mono black control card. I can imagine this as like maybe not the biggest finisher, but one of the finishers in a mono black deck where they're just killing a lot of creatures and doing their treasure map and Karn and all that stuff, and then you drop this and like rat the board, and then you gotta, you've stripped their hand maybe, and so all that's left over is this Massacre Girl that can end up closing out the game. And even if it doesn't, I mean, it buys you a lot of time when it rats the board. I think this is going to be a really cool card to try, and I think it would be in I guess it could go in a mid-range deck too, but I don't know, for some reason I think mono black control whenever I see this card. It reminds me of, what were those goblins? There was a 5-drop goblins back in the day, Goblin Dark Dwellers, that it was menace, a 4/4 menace for 5, and it could return us sorcery from the graveyard, and this seems like in the same kind of theme, except I think this is even more powerful. It definitely belongs in a deck where you're not running as many creatures, to where you're running only a few creatures and your opponent's running a lot more creatures, and you turn it into a one-sided wrath, and then you have a 4/4 menace on the battlefield. So Massacre Girl, look forward to getting some copies of that and doing some massacring. So the card I'm most excited about for upcoming War of the Spark standard season is God Eternal Ronos. God Eternal Ronos just seems like a pretty busted card for green. Stompy is kind of on the verge of still being a viable deck, and I don't know, just being able to literally probably kill your opponent out of nowhere many times in many scenarios in the Stompy deck. And I recently played Simic Stompy, and I think you could even maybe find a spot for a slot or two in that. But yeah, giving your board on a, considering that you're playing Stompy and giving your board, or even Gruul, or any of these big creature decks, and there's a couple of them, giving your board double power until end of turn and vigilance. I don't know, this card just seems over the top ridiculous to me. And I really like the way that they made it as ability that you don't mind having multiple copies, because if you cast one and your opponent's still alive, next turn just cast another one, keep the one on the battlefield that doesn't have Summoning Sickness, and you've pumped your team again. It's basically a 5-mana overrun effect if you already have one on the battlefield. So it's cool, the fact that can just be a pump spell, but not to mention the fact that it's a 5/5 Death Toucher that can come back in 3 turns. Yeah, God Eternal Ronos, I'm not saying it's going to be dominating the metagame or all over the place, but I think this guy it's going to make an impact somewhere, and I'm definitely going to try it out. I want to try another just straight up mono green stompy beatdown list with this, and maybe even run 4 copies, because I can only imagine you're going to win just X amount of games out of nowhere where otherwise you wouldn't have, or it would have won a few more turns, simply because you just dropped a Ronos and your opponent has to contend with twice the amount of damage that they would have otherwise had to deal with. And it's really hard to do that combat math, especially in the early metagame coming up in Standard. I think people aren't going to know how to react to it and aren't going to be expecting it and all that stuff. So we'll get in early with this and try it out. This is my mythic that I'm going to be spending my mythic slots on first. So really look forward to this card. It's my number 1. So let me know what your top cards are that you're looking forward to and excited for War of the Spark. Please like, comment, subscribe, and together let's sling some jank.